Hi, this is Right Now. That's Bobbi. I'm Heidi. And we're cousins who read. So
We
what's
read.
this week's book?
This week I listened to a book called Murder on Cape Cod by Maddie Day, and I like murder mysteries like a lot. Do you? Are you?
I mean, my grandma would read Nancy Drew to me
Oh no,
every time I
dude,
was
I
over
can't
there.
handle Nancy Drew now.
Well, yeah, now, but
It's
when you're
struggles.
like 10, it's like
Oh yeah, Prime,
no, I was it
Prime.
was when she would babysit me when I was like 10, 11, 12. She would read Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, Three Investigators.
Oh,
The three investigators were really good.
see, I remember the first two, but I've never heard of that one, the third one. But
Most people haven't.
okay, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Anyways, so this one was the most bland murder mystery that I have listened to. I get the Christie right, number one, whatever. And there were some that I've listened to once or twice or even three times and went, I don't know what just happened here. I don't know. That guy died and supposedly they did it. I don't know. This one was so like the opposite. So dry, right? Okay, so basically in a lot of the murder mysteries, you get about a third of the way through, and then someone dies because you have to get to know the characters, you
Yeah.
have to get to know people, you have to like them, you have
Yeah.
to like
And
get invested.
I always spend that part like, okay, which one of you is gonna die?
Yeah,
And there's always somebody you hate and you cross your fingers and
you're like, I
I
hope it's
hope
that
it's
one,
that one.
and it never is. It's always the one you like. Not
Oh.
always,
There was an
but
Agatha Christie one that I listened to. It was like, man, I hope she dies, and then she died. It was good.
well, this one it was literally under 8 minutes. The first 8 minutes, and the girl, which was confusing because how they introduced her, it made it sound like her name was Mackenzie, and she went by Mac Mackenzie, and then later they were like, oh no, my last name is, I'm gonna butcher it. It's something like Alvarez or something, but it's something else, and I don't know.
And you don't
Anyways,
remember.
I don't remember, but she and a lot of the books had they were bakers or tea people, and this one she was a bike shop person that she'd repair bikes,
Sure.
but the boyfriend was the baker. Anyways, the whole point is she talked to a guy about his roof, and she was like, I'm not gonna pay you until you actually fix it, dude. And he was all like, well, you'll see, I'm coming into money. And then 6 more minutes later he was dead on the beach, and she was walking home and found him.
So she doesn't get her roof fixed?
Nope.
That's a good thing she
And
didn't
she's
pay
in
him.
like a tiny house, so I don't know how he didn't just like, done,
Yeah.
sorry,
I
here's three
mean,
shingles.
I feel like if it's a big project, it's like half up front, half when you finish.
Yeah, no, it was not, and he
Well,
didn't do any of it. But anyways, so
well, yeah, he died.
yeah, yeah, they found him with a knife in the neck, face down, which worries me because I don't know when you think about it.
You're just worried that you're going to be walking down the street and someone's going to come upon you
No,
from behind and
if
get the knife
someone
in your neck?
no, I if someone stabs you in the neck and then you fall further onto it, just it's kind of the creeps. You know what I mean?
I mean, if I were stabbed in the neck,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I would get in a couple punches and then like hustle my way to some
You
help.
think you would get away if someone stabbed you in the neck?
It depends on where they stab you.
In the
Cuz
neck.
I know, but like
Roll.
okay, if they get your jugular, yeah, you could bleed out in a couple minutes, but that's enough time to hobble. You can
I feel
hobble
like
pretty
between the
far.
neck stabbing and the startalization, I'd be like, I'm
Well,
donezo.
I mean,
Here we are, we're done.
if they like nick your spinal cord, then
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
sure.
you're done.
Or I
But
mean, I don't. Depending on how big the knife is, if it's in
it
your
was
windpipe, can you
so
breathe around
Kate.
it a little bit?
So
Hey, they did it
Kate.
on that episode of MASH.
Oh, you're right. But Kate, so she like finds him and calls the police, right? And they're like, "Do you feel in danger?" And she's like, "Um, no." And I'm
Not
like,
until you said that.
"Well, that's the thing." She just was like, "Yeah, no." And then she was like, "Oh, and then the boyfriend pops out of the bushes, and I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Well, that's something." Yeah. Okay.
Suspicious.
And so then they like flip
Whose
him
boyfriend
over.
hides in the bushes?
Well, apparently she like it works like right by. She's like, I walk out the back and I just go along the beach and I live right there. She
I
lives
mean, I
like 10 seconds away.
guess.
They always live 10 seconds away from where they work, always,
All
and
right.
it just is. And so he's like, "Are you okay?" Oh my gosh, a dead guy. And you're like, "What?"
Okay. How did he know she was in distress if he hadn't
We'll
seen the
say he
dead
said
guy?
that he like heard or something that she like shouted out
Oh, well,
and
I
was like,
suppose
"Oh
like
no, my girlfriend."
just oh, dead body. Oh my gosh, a dead body!
Yeah.
And then, what's my girlfriend screaming about?
Yeah. And so they like flip him over, and that's when they see the knife, and she's like, oh. That is
Okay.
like it was a specific
Okay.
like
Yeah, but
made fishing like cut the fish open knife things and it wasn't just like I bought this from Walmart. Everyone has one. It's
well,
blue.
yeah, but
Like
still, I mean, I love my brothers. I couldn't pick one of their T-shirts out of a lineup,
apparently she knows him
let
really
alone
well.
a knife.
Okay, but get this later. I'll tell later. Okay, hold on. Okay, so she's like, and she's like, oh man, that's crazy. And they're like, are you okay? Did you see something? She's like, oh, a knife in the neck. Oh
Not a
man,
darn
that's
thing.
crazy. And so they go back and all this stuff happens, right? And she's all like pooping because she's like, my brother's knife is in that guy's neck. Oh my gosh. And so she's like trying to call the brother. The brother's not answering, doesn't answer for 2 days. Come to find out, he dropped his kid off at their parents' house. She's like, he didn't come into work. She's like, oh my gosh, my brother. There's no way that he killed him. Oh my gosh. The police are like, usually the police are like, did you are you the murderer? And they just didn't even suspect her at all, which I was like, she found the body, at least suspect her.
Yeah, usually
You know,
you would at least get brought down to the station to be asked some
exactly.
questions.
They asked her some questions there, and then that was like it. And
no
like
follow-up questions.
no, not. I mean, there was like the occasion because
there's always a follow-up interview.
Then the people like she gets together with her book group, and she's like they decide that they're gonna snoop around and they're gonna like all 6 of us are gonna watch and we're gonna all see. And they're like, okay, so they figure out there's some businesswoman that's now in town that's trying to find real estate for Mr. Wu. And they're like, sus, we have never seen you before. There's a girl that was happy before he was dead, and now she's sad after the guy is dead. And that's their 2 things. And then the brother is missing, which she's trying to keep hush hush. But every time something comes up where they're like, hey, should I tell the cops this? And she goes, yep. And then she tells them and instantly just tells them. And I'm like, you're gonna out your brother, dude. Not that like you shouldn't do that. Come to find out, the brother was being blackmailed by this. There's spoilers. We didn't say that at the beginning.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert. Spoilers. We spoil stuff.
The brother had been blackmailed by the guy who died, right?
Sure.
Because he had gone to prison. The brother had gone to prison over some sort of like oopsie doops, my company was embezzling or something, and he ended up going to prison. The sister didn't know he went to prison, people. So how she knew his fishing knife, but didn't know
he
that he
went to prison?
She was all like, oh, that must have been when I went abroad, and the timing just happened where she's like, I was gone, and he was gone, and we just figured we were doing all this stuff when I was in Australia, and he was here, and I was there, and
when is this supposed to take place?
Nowadays. Yeah.
No.
That's and so she's just like, because the cop eventually, so she goes over to the house, come to find out he had relapsed drinking, like he was an alcoholic, and because she went to the alcohol store. I don't drink alcohol. Whatever the friggin' place, liquor store,
the liquor store, the bar,
no, the liquor store,
the home brewery.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And the guy's like, oh, I saw your brother here, and I knew I shouldn't have sold to him because I knew he was a recovering alcoholic, but I sold him alcohol. And we're like, bro, you're buddies. Like, come on.
Guess who's not a real friend?
Yeah. And he's like, I feel so bad for doing it. So she goes over to his house, and he's all like, I'm drunk. And she's like, bro, come on, she throws the thing into the ocean. Sorry for littering. And
what?
The alcohol, the bottle of alcohol. She's like, no, you're not supposed to do this. Your kid is at the parents' house. Come on. And he then gets up, stumbles, and smacks his head. He doesn't die, but he was like, and then they went to the hospital, right?
Well,
the hospital's
isn't
like
gonna help about. I would have led with, did you kill this dude? Are you getting drunk because you killed this dude with your knife in the neck?
Like, the book keeps leading that, hey, it's the brother. The brother's so sus. And I'm like, it's not the brother. I can just feel it in my insides. It's not the brother because you're pushing too hard and yet not hard enough on the brother. And so then, of course, the police has a thing out for the guy because he hasn't been showing up. The hospital calls the police. The policeman shows up, and that's when they find out he had gone to prison, being black belt. And when he was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And they're like, even then, when they were like, oh, so you didn't want me blackmailed anymore, did you kill him? Everyone was like, nah, it wasn't him. Like, it was so, like, Like, all the evidence should have been stacked against this dude, and yet no one cares about the sister, no one cares about the boyfriend, no one cares about the whatever, and whatever. And the whole time, the girl is like talking to people, trying to figure out anything, and it's getting nowhere. And it's just like, it's like a 7-hour book, and the most interesting parts happen in the first 8 minutes and the last half hour of the book, because they're like going along, right, and she meets up with her buddy. There's this weird, it doesn't even matter. They go walking every morning. She shows up and she's all stretching and it's in front of the other lady's shop, because everyone owns their own shop. And she's like calling, texting. She's like, dude, you're never late. What the frick? And then finally she gets this text of, oh, the door's open. Come on in. And I'm like, okay, sure. Come on into your shop. So she's like, oh, nice. So she goes into the shop, right?
And gets jumped immediately.
Just freaking. So she goes in there and she's like, she does a taffy shop, right? Here's nothing going on. Completely just like quiet. She goes into the back and she sees her friend tied to a chair. She goes, oh my gosh, what happened to you? That was her words.
You about to get jumped is what?
I'm like, it wasn't like, oops, she fell and there was a bunch of taffy on her. She's like, oh no, what happened to you? It literally was like that. What happened to you? And I'm like, if I peeked into the room and saw you tied to a chair, I'd be like, oh effing no. And I'd back up. I'd be like, please don't die. But I'd back up and I'd be like, police, get over here right now. And so instead she goes in, she's like,
I would assume that it's like either somebody in the apartment or your mom has gone crazy. Like, either way, I'm calling the police.
So she goes in and she's like, oh my gosh, oh my. And she starts trying to fiddle with her to get her out, right?
No.
And of course the lady, you know who it is? The real estate lady. Who she somehow, which I know I could have told you more, but it really doesn't matter.
Who wasn't even in the book at all?
She was in the book a little bit. Like, they were like, oh, who are you? And she like talked to the mom and whatever. And it was like nothing led to her. Nothing led to her at all.
So what was her motive supposed to be?
Her motive was that she wanted the real estate that the guy was going to get. Apparently, someone in his family died and was giving him real estate. And she decided to kill him. How, after that, the real estate would have gone to her? I don't know. I don't have any idea. And they even threw in, hey, he has a daughter. The daughter showed up right before he died and was like, hey, Mom, I finally found you, and Mom and I have been over here, and I'm not mad that you left us and whatever, which could have been a suspect, like, you left us, how people do. Nothing.
Maybe nothing. I'm going to kill you, and I'm your daughter, so I'll get that real estate.
I'll get the real estate. Yeah,
that would be a plausible motive.
Yeah. Instead, a case of the lady ends up being like, all right, get a chair and sit next to her. So, so she grabs a chair, right? And then walks behind the taffy machine and like turns it on.
She's gonna taffy them to death?
That's what I'm like. But that's the thing. So then the lady with the gun is like, what is that? What is that? What is happening? Oh my gosh, what the frick? And I'm like, all I imagine is that thing that goes like this.
Yeah.
And
I feel like there's those, and then there's like probably a giant mixer.
Right.
Because it's a taffy.
And is it tipping on you? No. Okay. No. So as she's passing behind the thing, she is like, what can I do? What can I throw at her? Which I'm like, you're holding the stool. I mean, if you had to. Or throw it across when you pass this thing.
Yeah.
No, she goes,
use the machine as cover, then throw the stool.
Yeah, and hope she don't shoot your friend. But, she decides, hey, I have a pocket knife in my pocket. And she pulls it out and opens it. And then she goes and she sits down. The whole time she's running through her head. And she goes, the lady tells her to sit on the chair and to put her hands together like she's praying, right? And she's going to tie her hands together. She just goes, in all of the times that our murder mystery book club, this is a fool. Fool, why are you tying our hands in front of me? You're a fool, whatever. So she basically pinches her hands together with the knife in it, okay? And then stabs her in the wrist. Got her. She freaks out, right? I mean, I guess you got stabbed, but at the same time, like, which...
Plus she killed a guy.
Yeah.
You're probably stressed.
Exactly. Okay, so she's like, stabs her in the wrist. She freaks out. Sure. The gun falls. She smacks her head on the table and falls to the ground. She's like,
does this lady faint when she sees blood? That's kind of what this sounds like.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I don't even know if there was time for the blood to come out.
I'm sure I would react to being stabbed.
Ah, yeah, just like.
But then I would be. Then I would have my gun and I would be mad. Sorry, and I'd be like, guess who's gonna die now?
Yeah. Boom, boom. We'll just wait on that one. Oh my gosh. No. Okay, so she stabs her, she pushes her, and then she falls and hits her head on the table, right? And she's like,
does she fall into the taffy machine?
Could you imagine? So she,
oh no, my hair.
So she's like passed out a little bit. She's like, we gotta go. She gets her buddy and starts pulling. Where's the gun? Where's the gun? Gets the gun, tosses it on the buddy's thing, and like hurry and wheels her out, right? And gets her out into this
in a wheelie chair.
I don't know. Drags her out right into the street. There's cops outside because there was a private detective. I know I didn't add. I only have 15 minutes, people, but like there was a private detective that had come up and been like, hey, so I'm looking into some stuff and I can't tell you who. And they're like, I don't know you. And I Google searched it and nothing came up. So no trust. And then that's basically, and then he disappears for the whole book until the end when she goes to him and is like, who are you working for? And he's like, the person who died that was trying to give him land. And they were like, what? Well, he ends up following them, and that he sees them go into there and he's like, this is sus, I'm calling the police. So she comes out and they're all like, hands up. And they're like, eh. And they're like, oh wait, it's just you. And they're like, she's in there, watch out, I stabbed her, I pushed her, and she's might be coming alive again, you know? And they're like, okay.
No, okay, so if I were a cop,
yeah,
and I saw, I'm just imagining one of those like office wheelie chairs, and she's got her hands tied like the office wheelie
with
chair,
a gun in her lap, just like
yeah, just like hold this gun. Let's go out into the street. There's probably a hill. This could be fun.
We gotta go. It makes me think of that picture with Harry Potter with the two guns being like, yes. That's what it makes me think of. And so they go out there and they're like, oh frick, okay, we were just about to go in and you just came out. And we were like, wow. So they go in there, right? And they like, and whatever, and they bring her out and she has her wrist. It says it's wrapped, but it still has a handcuff on her, so whatever. Anyways.
I mean, I would have handcuffed her other wrist.
Oh, yeah.
Not a doctor, though.
Oh, I mean, whatever. Anyway, so they're all like, well, what the frick? And they're like, she must have thought you guys were getting close. Oh, back up, sorry. At one point, she finds a note in her door, and it says basically, mind your business or else. And she's like, oh my gosh. And she calls her buddy and is like, oh my gosh, there's a note. Oh my gosh. And Buddy's like, call the police. And she's like, will do. She hangs up, calls the police, and she's like, bro, there's a note in my door and it says mind your business. And they're like, do you feel like you're safe? And she's like, yeah. Just like, yeah, I do. And so she basically is like, okay, cool. We'll come pick up the note from you tomorrow and lock your doors and your windows. And she's like, roger that. And just like, it was like, oh, there should be danger. Nah, there's no danger. How about oh, no, thank you. Anyways, so they're like, oh.
Someone's going to die in the taffy machine? Oh, no. We just stabbed her in the wrist and then she fell down.
And she fell down. I pushed her. She says that when she got to the police. She's like, I pushed her. And she like, anyways, it basically ends with them being like, she must have thought you were getting close because she did this, right? She pushed it. And she whatever. And they're like, were we close? They literally taunted the two girls. Were like, were we close? Did we think it was her? And they were both like, no.
So because they've been focusing on the brother. I was kind of hoping it was the boyfriend.
Oh, yeah. The boyfriend had nothing. He was doing nothing. He literally went to the bakery every day and whatever. And they like the girls. Didn't
it would have made more sense than the random real estate lady.
It was so odd, and they just were like, okay, well that's neat. And the mom, who is an astrologist now, basically, she changed her name to Astrid or something. It used to be like Eleanor or something, and she changed it to Astrid because she didn't like it. And the mom goes, why didn't she shoot us? She totally could have been like, bang bang, see ya. Instead, she was planning on burning the house down, burning the taffy place. Why, I don't know. And like with them in it. And there was a tenant upstairs, so it would have been 4 murders, I guess, at that point. But she goes, oh, I saw in her astrological chart or her hands that she doesn't like loud noises, so she wasn't gonna shoot you.
Oh my gosh, that's just
are you kidding me?
No, that's like me being like, you're a Pisces, so you have trouble eating your vegetables.
Yeah,
you know, like two things that do not connect at all.
Yeah, she's like, I saw it in there, and I was like, no. Anyways,
fired.
So as far as murder mysteries, if you guys want to, like, if you want suggestions, I wouldn't suggest this one. It's a very, like, I don't know. I guess if you want, I don't even know who I'd suggest this to. This is like a level 1, half a level, quarter of a level. Don't really. I'm not going to suggest it.
A good example of a bad example.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and
those
say
are good to read too.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay. But
that's why you read Twilight.
Oh my gosh. At least there was like movement a little. This was no movement. I don't know. So anyways, that's my take on this book. My next go around will be better. It will.
We hope.
Oh yeah. It takes a turn and is like, oh, it's not a murder mystery, by the way. It's the next one is about Snow White.
Ooh,
kind of. But anyways, next week is Heidi's, and you're
Pride
doing
and Prejudice.
Pride and Prejudice. That's right.
Pride and Prejudice.
Yes. So
lots of pride, lots of prejudice. I hate most of the
characters. Lots of hate.
Lots of hate.
Yeah. So anyways, let us know if there's any books you want us to. I just got a book thing today, actually, from my aunt, from a guy in her ward that just wrote a book. So that'll be coming out hopefully in time. And yeah, so that's it. Unless you have anything.
No,
that's it.
Read more books. Books are good for you.
Murder mysteries, pretty good most of the time.
Even crappy books sometimes are good.
Sometimes they are. Now I have a story to tell. A story to tell about a story.
Yeah.
And yeah. So anyways, bye everyone.
Bye.